final confirmation on what exactly Natsu is going to be appearing like as soon as he gets out of this transformation, this E.N.D demon transformation with this dragon form, and also as well what Irene has done to Wendy, or shall I say Wendy Belsarian, because boy oh boy has this chapter for the holidays, ladies and gentlemen, is a doozy for Fairy Tail, and let me tell you that for free. Happy holidays everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful time like I did as well. I got treated to a couple of things throughout the holidays, couple of presents, being with loved ones, but most importantly of all, oh yes, some stuff and all that you're gonna treat with care. Nice fresh bottle of that, but this will not be needed for the next chapter of Fairy Tail, because no crazy shit going on in this chapter. So one of the most interesting things I actually thought about this chapter was actually what the first part of this chapter was, the little bit that kind of got me, where a lot of the time where like you kind of question why exactly like someone, the big baddie explains their backstory or history or anything like that. And one thing that Irene said is like, you know, like I will, like, you know, regardless of all this and all that, you know, I thought maybe if I told you about my past and all that, my child and my feelings towards you would change a little bit. Like there was something inside Irene that made me had like one last ditch effort to see, do I care about this child? Like this, I'm looking at my daughter, she's about 20 years old right now, I'm seeing her and this is exactly what I'm looking at. And then she's like, oh, such a shame, I don't give a shit. And she just immediately tries to blow up Urza. Like, there's something about what Mashima does with like her facial, like this great, like, or every time she just has this sinister look to her face. It's just like emptiness. Like, it's just emptiness sometimes I see in her eyes. Or even if there's anything and all that, and then it can be like very sinister, like, or something. And like, when you get to finally see out this armor and all that, like, with, especially because it was going for like, this kind of like red and black and all that kind of a demeanor for all that. Also going for like, you know, the king, you know, the Queen of the Hearts and stuff like that. And also as well, I'm thinking it's pretty much going for like also as well the knight, you know, like that it was kind of going for the ace of kind of like spades or something of that matter with this armor design that she had. But I did appreciate that throughout in the entirety of this, like, Wendy wasn't on the back line. She actually went in and she, like, whilst like Urza was distracting her, keeping her, like, you know, at bay, she was like, no, I have my family. My family is the one that's going to be backing me up. And like, you see, like, Wendy immediately, without anything and all that, goes straight in Dragon Force, and she does like Sky Dragon Wing, just cry that and trying to rip out that like giant like belly of that. It's like, you're gonna kill this humanoid dragon right here and right now. Urza using this as like an opportunity, uses like the black and red twin blades to try and cut open Irene. Even like she's praising and saying like, you actually like managed to damage me, you actually managed to hurt me slightly. And it was just like, you know what, after everything and all that, after all what you've been through and that, I'm sympathetic about your past and all that, but like regardless of what and all that, I can't forgive someone who doesn't even love their own child. And she just smiled right there. She's just like, oh, you little small dragon slayer, you heard me talk about the dragon seed, didn't you? It's in you too. You're gonna, regardless of what and all that. But it's saying, yeah, that's gonna happen to me, but my mother and all that kept it suppressed all of these years and all that. And like, Irene was like genuinely shocked. She's like, what? I didn't know this and all that. It's so I wouldn't transform into a dragon. The same thing with everyone else. And very sympathetic. Like, I thought honestly this would be the one chapter of, like, I thought would be the biggest part of it, but no, is when you saw Natsu and he's reunited technically with his father. Like, he gets to see E.N.D for one more time as he explains that, like, the stop of the growth. And he was like, you know, E.N.D, tell me the story and all that. He's saying the seeds shouldn't be growing anymore. Maybe it's because I left you my other body and all that, but like, there's another seed, and that's why what's happening is that it's going in your body and it's working, is the dragon seed. And especially it's mixing up with your demon seed, which is there and all that, and the two seeds are trying to fuse together, and that is what's happening inside your body right now. The part of E.N.D inside of you, alongside with the combination of what you've got of your dragon side, your dragon force, alongside with this E.N.D transformation, is trying to combine into making something completely new. So what that is entailing, ladies and gentlemen, is, especially if anything, that's a sign that there is going to be some kind of fusion, a combination of these two like powers together. I made like a kind of video about this recently as well, kind of like suggesting this in a video that you'll probably see maybe in the New Year's as well. But God fucking damn it and all that, like, I was like, holy shit, like, thinking about that, like, Natsu is going to transform into this dragon form, and when it does, it's kind of insinuating that it's going to be this hybrid of, like, combining his demon side alongside with his dragon side. Like, the dragon seed alongside him is going to work together with the demon and make this completely brand new monster. And Irene learning about this, saying, like, oh, the dragons actually seal themselves inside your bodies and stop the growth of this dragon seed, and it's just like, you know, even though, like, Belsarion, who gave its power to die and all that, think about, like, if he actually did that, I was able to perhaps maybe never have this transformation in the first place, but I never got that chance because he died on the battlefield, and I kind of had there was a tiny bit of respect for him. He was like, you know, I took his name and all that, like, you know, over his name, that's how I got the Belsarion. It's like, I promised I'll avenge him, like, after everything, and to think there's a way to prevent dragonification, and this is where exactly with when I've talked about this as well with this chapter is the downfall of Irene right here, is this childish where she just went, that's not fair, and she just starts blasting like Urza and Wendy throughout all of that. It's like this selfish, crazy side of her saying, I didn't get what I want. Give me back my life. I don't need this body. And it's just like, I'll, like, return the favor, like, exactly. And it's like, she's like, let's just try and finish this now with Irene. It's just like, you see immediately that Wendy's, like, enchanting. She's just like, you know, I'm going to use the, like, you know, raise up, like, Urza's, like, power and all that. And she's like, huh, what you know, an enchanter as well. And it's just like, no, I'm going to use, like, you know, Deus Zero and all that. She's cancel that. And she's saying, like, I'm going to use Deus Zero by myself. And she's like, wait, you're able to use such advanced, like, you know, like, enchantment? And that's when Irene smirked and had a very sinister idea. By the way, with enchantments as well, Irene took 2 swords to the head and was only bleeding because of it. And I'm like, what the like, how, what is that fucking dragon head made of, like, woman and all that? Like, you saw that her hat completely disappeared, but it's like, no, that's where it went. And it's just like, you know, and she was saying that, oh, the truth about enchantments, thanks to you, Urza, and this little child you have with you. It's like, you are a baby and we're relatives, that's why I failed, but it's impossible to enchant one's personality into another one. And it's like, no, they must be compatible, and that's why I found someone who's got the dragon seed alongside, inside of them, who has dragon DNA, all of this combined into them. Alongside with having enchanting, they have a perfect combination of this young body of both Dragon Slayer and Enchanter is before my very eyes, and that is Wendy. And she completely takes over Wendy's body, and she's like, oh, how long have I waited for this and all that? A new body and a new life. Irene has been born anew in this body. And this, I was like, so think about that in a way. Wendy's our villain now. Wendy, if anything, and I like how the next chapter is intact, like, you know, called, like, Wendy Belsarion out of everything. So it's like, now Urza has to deal with the situation where it's like, Wendy's still in there, like, at some point. She's got to try and reach out to her friend, try and get her out from this body and do something. However, there's another thing going on with here, and this is exactly the downfall of Irene, was exactly when she started losing her mind a little bit more. She'd go, that's not fair. Although we already knew that she was already, like, mentally, like, damaged as it was when she especially was, like, trying to contemplate giving up her own child's life just so she could have a new body. That's what she was generally thinking, and this is right here as well. She even stated it herself, I've lost quite a lot of power, like, my magic power has decreased somewhat, but it'll be no problem. Now she's in a scenario with Wendy's probably still in there, she can resist her, and she's going to use that opportunity to take her out of there in some way. And also, like, you know, and B as well, you've got a decrease in power, so Urza has a lot more of an advantage. Like, regardless of what people may think and all that, yeah, Irene's strong, she's probably going to use that, like, Dragon Slayer magic, and alongside with that, it's her advantage, but I generally don't think it's going to be enough to take on Urza, who I think, like, if anyone could say, like, Wendy, out of everyone, like, out of most of the, like, female characters in Fairy Tail, was kind of one of the weakest ones for the longest, until she actually had a Dragon Force, and it really does depend whether or not if Irene can utilize that into the battle, which I honestly don't think she is going to be utilizing, like, the Dragon Force. She's new to this, and a thing I've also said as well, like, well, what about Irene? Like, what about the future events? Like, don't you, like, think we're going to need her for, like, if anything, the Acnologia and all that stuff? And then it kind of goes back where it's like she technically is a dragon at this point. So I think if anything, the Milky Way kind of technique might even actually be able to work, since she did learn the two techniques during the Grand Magic Games. I think that maybe like she could come back. So I think either way, if Irene is defeated and she's like vanished, and you know pretty much she's abandoned her body at this point. So I think if anything, she's just turned into a soul at this point. I think they could still use this if Irene needs to come back for a little bit or anything like that. Which I'm thinking, but then well, like I really enjoy everything that was like finding out about like with Natsu, with the whole dragon seed. That was the most interesting part of the chapter to me. But like even though I still enjoy it, it's still a good chapter. Every time, like, the part I saw of, like, Irene, and it's understandable, it's like she could fucking, like, I had this thing as well, where it's like, you think about it, it's like, even though it's like such tiny things, I can't sleep, I can't drink, I can't eat, I can't taste, I can't have all these things, these human senses and all that are just being overpowered. You would think about that as kind of like on a human side of thing and all that. Like, I think like a lot of people say, well, that's nothing really, you know, like I hadn't noticed that and all that at all and all that, like in a week. But I think if you would generally notice after like a couple of days, you would start going crazy as well. Imagine not being able to go to sleep, that you have to be up every waking hour. You can't just sleep and just rest. Like if you're stressed out or anything, it's like, oh, I'll just sleep or have a nap. You can't do that. And I think that's just what made it go crazy. And it's just like, I generally think right then that was like, oh, that's her downfall. That's Irene's downfall right there. She completely 110% screwed herself the second she went into Wendy's body right there and then. And the question is like whether or not she can utilize the whole factor of that. And plus as well, Wendy's already injured, so she's entering an injured body at the same time. So that's going to be something as well, like, into think of that. She's like, can she utilize the Dragon Slayer inside of her? Can she also use like some of the abilities like the Dragon Force and the enchanting? Like, since I think the enchanting she'll be fine on, but it'll be like, she clearly said that it isn't going to be as strong as what she had. Now it's just Urza's in the situation. It's like, do I cut down my friend, if anything? And I think we're kind of safe to say that probably not going to do that to like anything. But no, we got to think about like our main villain is now a 14-year-old girl for the most part that Urza's dealing with. But I'm very curious to see what you guys think in the comment section down below. I really did enjoy this chapter, but then I really did notice like I kind of felt like if there was maybe some other way that Irene kind of went around with it. But we'll have to wait and see in the near future of Fairy Tail. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's all from me, so thank you much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys though next time.